If you choose a stick which is heavy, so Obsidian, Dragon, or the Hori Fighting Edge, you can just let your wrist focus on just doing what it's supposed to do. Hi, I want to buy a fighting arcade stick for King of Fighters 15. Fair enough. And I watched your video about Hori Fighting Edge. Do you think it's good, or there is a better fight stick for a wrist-friendly stick? Here's my opinion. If you're looking for an arcade stick which is friendly on your wrist, the Hori Fighting Edge is actually quite a good place to start because of the thinness of the stick. It's actually not one of the boxier, thicker sticks. It's actually quite slim. And it's weighty, so you won't have to lock your wrist in place, which is another important feature. So I like... Ho-ho! What's up, Kimchi Aka? Thanks for the big Prime subscription. Appreciate it. Now you have access to emotes. So one of the things about arcade sticks, which I think is important when you're trying to figure out what's good for your wrist, is not just the placement of the stick, because that does also matter. If you use like the typical Vuelix layout, your wrists will be like quite close together. If you go for the Noir layout, it's like slightly further apart, but not... I don't really like the spacing that... I don't really prefer that spacing. I actually think the Vuelix spacing is actually just right for me. But the bigger thing is, if you choose a stick which isn't very heavy, then you'll... like when I had the Hori Fighting Stick Mini 4, I think it was called, you had to like push your wrist onto the stick to prevent it from sliding around on the table or sliding around on your wrist. On your lap. Same thing with the... I suppose the Obsidian's not so bad, but then the Razer Pantera Evo, I didn't like how it would shift around when I was moving the stick, and so that's another stick where you would plant your wrists on the stick to prevent it from shifting around. Anyway, if you choose a stick which is heavy, so Obsidian, Dragon, or the Hori Fighting Edge, stuff like that, then I think you can just let your wrist focus on just doing what it's supposed to do, staying loose and doing all the motions for the inputs. So that's my spiel on the topic. For coffee table play, Fighting Edge is fine, but lap play, depending on the angle it sits in your lap, quite sharp bevel can be uncomfortable. Really? I've never noticed that, actually, with the Fighting Edge. Interesting. I'm curious. Maybe if you do play it... I've never played with my arcade stick at like quite a low angle facing away from me, so maybe that's why I don't notice that so much. Also, the metal faceplate can be quite chilly if the room is cold. That's also true. I never noticed it being nearly as cold as the Victrix Pro. I think the Victrix Pro, for whatever reason, it retained coldness. It did not retain heat very well. It was very cold. I think you really like the Obsidian, so I might give it a try. I think the Obsidian is a very good start. It doesn't open as... well, actually, yeah, the Victrix opens really nicely. The Obsidian, I feel like you can't really go wrong. It's got a touchpad. It's got all the buttons you need. It's got it's got a stick in the Vuelix layout. It's got lights on it. Can't complain, really. The only reason I think you might want to go for the Fighting Edge is if you want, you know, a stick that looks really cool and is made of aluminium and is just huge. I don't know if even that's really a benefit to have just a really big, open, flat panel. For whatever reason, I do find myself going to the Fighting Edge more than the Obsidian. Maybe just because I'm really into the Hayabusa lever. But, you know, for years I was playing on the Sanwa. Basically, they're not that... I mean, they are different, but it makes no difference. If you've never bought an arcade stick before, then I think you'll love either of them. I like placing the fight stick on a table. Well, the Fighting Edge will take up a lot more space on your table. So also keep that in mind. If you're playing with your stick on a table, you want one which is as slim as possible and one that doesn't have too large a footprint, I think. There's a reason so many pros use the Obsidian. I'm not sure there is. I'm not sure there's a reason other than just Kwanba keeps sponsoring teams and players. I think the Obsidian is a nice stick, but if you put the same parts in the Fighting Edge, I don't think it would feel much different. Hey, no problem, Army. I hope that was useful. I love talking about arcade sticks, so ask me about arcade sticks anytime. And in fact, if you'd like to continue talking to the people who are here in the chat, they know a lot about arcade sticks too. Feel free to pop into the old Discord. Nightbot's put a link up there. And you can chat about arcade sticks all day long. I'm usually in there talking about arcade sticks as well.